everybody. So as some of you may have known, we're in the Northeast and we got hit by a storm. It wasn't really something that was predicted to be as crazy as it was. And you can see we do have some branches down in the yard. Kenzie and I cleaned up about 90% of it, I would say, already. So with that being said, I don't know if you can see, I am sitting on a tree that fell in our yard, and we are very, very, very blessed because this tree is very close to the garden. It is about 2 feet away from our garden, where not where the fence is. I know you guys have seen our gardening vlogs. Not where the fence is. I plant potatoes and onions and stuff outside of the fence, so it's about 2 feet away from that. But it's a pretty decent sized tree, and I'm going to show you that it's still half standing. So if you can imagine, can you see our house? Had this fallen in the other direction, it would have landed right on our house. So we were lucky because that's right where our bedrooms are. So it was at night, so we were sleeping. So it would have really been some damage and we could have potentially have gotten hurt. The thing is, we didn't know the storm was coming. Since the shootings that happened in Las Vegas, we haven't been watching the news. Makenzie had nightmares since then and prays every single night for the victims. The problem is, I don't know when the news is going to have something awful, or if it's just going to show the weather. And I know that's not really an excuse, but I used to watch it in the morning while we were getting ready for school and whatnot, so now I don't. I did see something on Facebook, and I was like, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. Not that big of a deal. We have that often. It's not anything too scary, but it was definitely more than that. So that was scary. The basement flooded. So that was awful. I had Christmas presents down there that got ruined. So I was kind of not happy about that. I mean, not a lot of them, because a lot of them were still in bags. So luckily, when I say flooded, it got like an inch of water. But it came in through the chimney, which we weren't expecting that much water to come in through the chimney. It was just such a driving rain that it came in on an angle. And the whole side of the basement that the chimney's on was wet. The floor had at least an inch of water, and it spreaded to the side of the basement that we've been trying to refinish. So it's kind of upset by that. I think Andrew lost like his comic book collection and stuff. Lesson learned. We're going to put everything in totes instead of boxes. We've never had that much water since Andrew has done a lot of fixes in the basement. So it was just kind of a little crazy. I just want to show you guys something really quick. So as I'm sitting here talking to you, I have an audience. It's kind of funny. They haven't been out since we clipped the chickens, but the chickens have been kind of bored, and they've been picking on Rarity, which is weird because Rarity is usually the one that is like super dominant for the chickens. So she's lost a lot of her feathers. I don't know if they're mad that we just didn't clip her wing feathers and we clipped theirs. I don't know. Rarity's a cochin, so she doesn't fly anyway because she's too chunky. But just wanted to show you guys that. I thought it was fun. So the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, because while that's sad and we lost power for a few days and some of our town still doesn't have power, they're like on day 4 or 5 without power. Where we live, our grid is connected to some of the local schools, so they get us up pretty quickly here. I need a generator. We just processed one of our toms for Thanksgiving. That's in our freezer. And as you guys know, whoever's raised their own poultry, we had to pay $12 for the chick. We paid $10 to have him processed until Andrew's more comfortable with doing it himself. We're going to take a class actually in the spring. And by the time we fed him, so he's about a $60 bird for us, and he's in our freezer. Obviously, we're working on getting a little bit better with keeping that price down. Like, we'll hatch our own and we'll process our own next year, so that'll save us some money, and looking into ways to grow our own food for them. But anyway, we need a generator. So I shop sales. I know most of you homesteaders do that. You totally get what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, I only buy things on sale. So when something's on sale, I stock up. And I usually buy a lot of meats that are on sale. So our freezer was full, and we had bought part of a cow, and that was in our freezer. So luckily we packed it with ice, but Andrew had to run out and get, because again, we weren't prepared for this. And we were able to save everything. I mean, we lost like some eggs, and honestly, we get eggs every day, so I wasn't too concerned about that. But we need a generator. So if you can leave in the comments what type of generator you recommend, that would be great. I think there's like tons of brands out there, and we would like to at least be able to run our refrigerator, our freezer, and our pellet stove and our well, because we have well water. So when we lose power, we don't have water. And because I wasn't prepped for this, and I'm always so good about that, but I wasn't, we had no way to flush our toilets. We had nothing, no water to drink or cook with in the house. So luckily, I mean, we had no power, and that's why kind of like there was no school for a few days and stuff like that. But the roads after about day one were pretty passable. So, and as most homesteaders know, you have enough food and supplies in your house usually that you can get through about a week or so without too much of a problem. I mean, we had enough things to drink and eat in the house that weren't perishable items at all. So we were blessed in that regard. It got a little cold, and we don't have a wood stove. So that's why I'm definitely thinking about the generator, especially for this winter. I have a bad feeling, guys, about this winter. So I'm telling you now, prep, because I just, in my gut, I know it's going to be bad. So here's the other thing. For homesteaders out there, I think a survival kit for homesteaders is totally different than a survival kit for non-homesteaders. I need to get an extra supply of feed for the animals, because come winter, if it's a blizzard, I might not be able to get to the store for days. So I need to have at least I would say an extra bag of feed for the animals on hand. So that way I can get through at least a week or so. We had no flashlights. Every single one of our flashlights either had corroded batteries in it or were dead. So that's the other thing. When you are doing a survival kit, you need to take your batteries out of everything, because they do corrode. We haven't had to use anything. We haven't lost power here. We've been here for 2.5 years. We haven't lost power here for more than a few hours at a time. So to be days without power, we were like, which, you know, again, I should have been prepared, but I wasn't. So we didn't have enough candles. Luckily we had a couple of things from like camping. We had like a lantern and stuff like that. So for you homesteaders, what are your must-haves for a survival kit? Obviously, I need to have some water, like bottled water in the basement. I learned that I need to, if the freezer has room, to freeze some water in there, so that way it's a big block of ice, so we don't have to try to run out and buy ice. In the winter, it's not so crazy because it's freezing outside, so you can put everything outside in coolers and stuff like that. But in the summer, that's a problem. So if it's something that I'm just doing year-round, I won't have to think about it. So obviously I need batteries, I need flashlights, I need candles, I need matches. I get all of that first aid kit. But is there anything else as a homesteader that you would recommend to have in a survival kit? I think that we need to make sure our chainsaw has a sharpened blade. God forbid this fell on the house. Andrew would have had to cut it up to get it off the house, and then we would have had to put like a tarp over it so that way that water didn't come through. So those are some other things. I mean, we live in a very wooded area, as you can tell. Trees are going to come down, and especially after the gypsy moths the past 2 years, we have a few trees that are dead and that we are going to have to look into having removed from the property, especially because they're so close to the house and they're so close to our power lines. So drop in the comments what you guys recommend. I know I've watched a few of your videos, and I feel like a lot of them were more geared towards people that weren't homesteaders. So I'm just curious. Some of them were geared toward homesteaders. I'm not saying all of them weren't, but I'm just curious as to what else you would recommend for people that can rough it a little bit more. I don't, we have a propane stove. I could cook. We had a grill. Like, I wasn't bothered about that. But now I'm thinking I need a generator for heat in the winter and extra food for the animals. But other than that, like, and the basics, obviously flashlights and whatnot. What do you guys recommend? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. All right, everybody, so have a blessed day, and our prayers are with everyone that still doesn't have power, because I know that some of the back roads are still not accessible with trees being down and whatnot, and definitely praying for the people down in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, because I can't imagine being months without power. I mean, the people here are complaining after a day, and I'm like, seriously, seriously, it could be so much worse. I count my blessings every day. We're so lucky to live in the part of the country that we live in. But, you know, just leave the comments, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks.